All right, the market is going crazy, and of course, we have to talk about multiple things. Of course, you probably saw that the producer price index came in, and we started to see a little bit of a deflation happening, so that's pretty good. Okay, effectively, that means that we are starting to see prices start to go down a little bit. We're not only looking at disinflation, we're looking at deflationary pressures, okay, which is pretty good. Okay, we need to let prices go back down a little bit. Okay, and of course, this does not mean that we are completely done with inflation. It just means that, of course, according to Jerome Powell, chances are he's gonna say it's just 1 month of data. We're gonna see a little bit more. But all those macroeconomic stuff aside, let's talk about Alibaba. Okay, because Alibaba just lost $22 billion worth of value. Okay, and that is just in the Chinese market. In the Hong Kong market, they lost 10% yesterday, and today in the pre-market for the United States market, okay, in the US market, they are about to open for a negative 3% loss. So Alibaba has been losing a lot of money, and I am here to tell you guys all about the whole reason why Alibaba has been doing all this thing. And let's talk about Chinese stocks once and for all. Okay? Personally, I always talk about Chinese stocks as something that I personally would not invest into, simply because I don't understand the market well enough, and I know that it is being dominated by a few giants, and it's really hard for you to really buy into smaller companies that possibly might hit it big, because chances are, if you, a small company that managed to reach to the big dogs, they're effectively going to get destroyed by whoever it is, he who shall not be named. So I think the Chinese market in general, I personally wouldn't really get into it. And even though I do know Chinese, I am Chinese myself, I'm not from China, but I don't think that I'm able to read all the different reports that come out. And because I want to read in the native language of it for me to really truly understand the company in its core. And that's one of the reasons why I personally would not invest into Chinese companies. However, of course, with the recent revelation and current affairs that actually happened, which is President Xi Jinping actually came over to the United States to meet President Joe Biden. They actually have a few talks, even held a press conference of some sort, and I think the US and China is starting to have somewhat of a better relationship. Okay, so now we have to kind of really expand upon that, which is what is going to be happening with the Chinese market, especially in the US. Okay, so Alibaba, of course, ticker symbol BABA, is one of the most prominent Chinese stock in the US market as of today. Of course, there's also a lot more other. You have your, your PDD, you have Neo, you have Xpeng, you have a lot of all these different Chinese company out there. But I think Alibaba is one of the OG Chinese company in the US market. Okay, so today we need to talk about what actually happened. Okay, effectively, what they really wanted to do was a strategy reset. Okay, so according to a Bloomberg article that I'm looking at right now, effectively what they're saying is that because of the restriction that US is actually implanting on China on the chips sales from US over to China, Alibaba is unable to actually go through with the plans of them actually splitting all the different companies up into various subsidiaries for them to do whatever it is. And right now, for them who, if they're unable to do whatever chip manufacturing, which according to them they actually wanted to do a cloud arm, and the cloud arm is unable to proceed because of the lack of chips sale from the US. That effectively came out, and then Alibaba is basically saying that, yeah, maybe we're not going to be doing the cloud arm simply because of the restriction of sale from the US. That basically just stopped them in the entire thing. And of course, with that news coming out, Alibaba basically just lost 10% immediately right afterwards. And of course, I think this is a pretty bad thing for them to do so, especially they were really trying to do a comeback. In 2020, they actually went all the way down to about $100 in the US market. They went down to about $100. And a lot of people were speculating because Alibaba was once $300. and it went down a little bit more, down to about like $80, or not $70, and right now we're still suffering at about the $80 mark, which is quite scary for Alibaba, especially seeing how it is considered one of a blue chip company in the Chinese market. So, of course, we also have to take into consideration that with how the Chinese market is starting to expand, okay, I also had a video regarding the whole entire ARM situation, ARM, with the whole entire IPO, about how I would buy in or I would not buy into it. And I think that is one of the reasons why Alibaba is starting to get a lot of flack for it. And I think with this current situation, this is going to expand more into a tech fight between US and China. And of course, I think it's all right that President Xi Jinping went over to the US and tried to have some peaceful negotiations. But of course, I know for a fact that at the end of the day, what Xi Jinping actually wants is for the US to actually start to sell chips again to China. And I don't think that Biden is going to simply just do so, simply because this is actually keeping US competitive as of now. But of course, no one can really know what Biden would actually do, simply because we are also starting to get into an election period, and there is a possibility, in order for the US to actually gain an even bigger competitive edge on the global market, they might actually need to trade a little bit more. They cannot be restricting sales to China, because China was one of the biggest buyer of chips in the world. And if they were to actually allow China to buy into the chips, they might actually be able to expand the economy a little bit more. And of course, Biden would probably want to do so during the re-election. So nothing is settled as of now, but personally, to see Alibaba drop all the way down, right now it's at about $74 or something ridiculous. And I think it is pretty tough if you are an Alibaba holder. I know of a few friends who are strong Chinese market bulls, and I think that it's not really a good time. I think in general, okay, if you go back to my previous few videos, I've always talked about it as well. I don't think that the stocks market is really in a very comfortable spot at the moment. I do think that the chances of us actually seeing stocks market move generally upwards is probably going to take a bit more time. Right now, it's probably a little bit harder. I think we are probably going to be getting into somewhat of like a sideways market in the long run. Maybe in the next 5-10 years, it's probably going to be a sideways market. But hey, you know, of course, full transparency, I might be completely wrong. I think that if you really want to ensure gains, get into the bonds market while the yields are still slightly high. Right now, the yields are starting to collapse a little bit. If you look at yields are starting to collapse a little bit because people are starting to take the money out of bonds and putting it into the stocks market, because you're most likely going to be seeing a little bit more gains, and that's why the yields are also starting to go down a little bit as such. So yeah, I think Chinese market as a whole, again, I think for now, I would still maintain my stance of not really getting into Chinese stocks. But if I ever see a clear entry path into the Chinese market, maybe I'll make another video about it. But anyway, that's all I have to talk about today. I thought that the Alibaba situation was quite insane to see. It's almost, if you just think about it this way, just think about it as if Apple just lost 10% in a day. Basically. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.